Hey, welcome back to another installment of the Camo Cook. Today I'd like to make something for you that goes into a lot of my cooking nowadays. I'd like to show you how to make my own bacon. My recipe for my own bacon. You go and you buy it in the store, you're looking at, like $8-9 a pound or whatever for bacon, depends on what you get. This, for $1.50 a pound, you can pretty much make your own bacon. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Follow with me. Here's what I got to start out with. This is a 2 pound bag brown sugar. Just going to open that up. Now this is a salt packing method. You can use a brine, but for matters of this recipe, I love using a salt pack. Now, kosher salt, this is a 3 pound box. What you really want is a 50-50 ratio of salt to sugar. So this being a 3 pound box, 2 pound bag of sugar, you want it 50-50 by weight. So I'm going to put a good chunk of this box in here, if not pretty much all of it. There we go. That's about right. No worries about it being too exact or anything like that for this method. Brining method is a little less forgiving on how much you use. This method, it's okay. So you wanna, I'd suggest putting on gloves, especially if you got any cuts on your hands or anything else. So you're gonna go through and knead and mix the sugar and salt together. Now you want to knead it until you get all the chunks out, until it's fully and completely incorporated into it. You want to keep working it through until you don't find any more little corners of sugar and salt. It's all completely and thoroughly mixed through. Okay, and what you're left with at the end is what's called the sugar cure. Now you can just go out and buy a sugar cure. It's pretty much brown sugar and salt mixture. It's for this purpose, but me, I like to make my own. Why have somebody mix them together? I'm not sure if they put anything extra, but this I know is just 100% pure dark brown sugar and kosher salt. That's it. There's nothing else that goes into it. There is some seasonings I play around with. Sometimes I'll add some cracked pepper and stuff like that into it, but it doesn't really do much for this part of the process. Usually those kind of seasonings I'll put on top of it in the smoker, such as I'll cover the top with cracked pepper. That'll be like a peppered bacon, but we'll get to that later. That's how I make my original sugar cure. Now time to show you exactly how I go about curing it. So here we go. Check this out. Okay, first step we're gonna do is we're gonna want a non-reactive dish big enough to fit the piece of pork belly we have. I have 2 of these. It was one big chunk of pork belly. Cut it down into 2 so they'd fit into a large glass casserole dish. It's one of the biggest non-reactive pans that I have that would suit the purpose. I could use a big, say a cooler or something like that. That would work great. The plastic is non-reactive. Non-reactive means it's not going to rust when it stays in contact with that salt. I wouldn't use metal. I'd use glass. I'd use plastic. I'd use something like that instead of metal. Anything but metal that's going to rust. Stainless steel is okay, I guess, because that's a non-corrosive material. So that's one thing to pay attention to. But for purpose of the video, I'm going to use this large glass casserole dish. So what I'm going to start out doing is I got my sugar cure mixture we just mixed up, which is, like I said, 50% kosher salt, 50% brown sugar to weight, not to volume, to weight. So I'm gonna line up a decent bed of this mixture onto the bottom of my casserole dish there. And then I'm gonna take my chunk. It's still a little bit frozen, as you can see. I'm not too worried about that. It's gonna melt down. So I'm gonna place it right on top of the salt and brown sugar. And then what I'm gonna do is just dump this right over the top. Now what you want to make sure and do is cover any and all portions of the pork belly with the salt cure. You don't want anything exposed to the air. You want it to be completely encapsulated into it. So when you get it down pretty full, got that little cavity under there, I'm going to shove it in there. Now the salt and brown sugar are going to penetrate and flavor the meat. Well, the brown sugar is going to do most of the flavoring. It's going to have a good salty flavor like bacon should. But this salt, what it does is draws the moisture out of the bacon. It dries it out. It makes it an inhospitable place for bacteria growth. So it's going to wipe out bacteria or the harmful bacteria and cure the meat. Actually, when it comes out of this, it's actually completely ready to eat. The smoked in the bacon is just actually mainly for flavoring. The smoke flavors the bacon. I see a little bit under there. I can see through the camera in there. So now that I got that completely covered and encrusting into there, I want to let this sit in there for at least 8 hours. At least 8 hours on a size like this. I could go as long as 12. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wake up bright and early tomorrow morning and take it out of this salt mixture. You'll notice that it's going to completely encase it and surround it. There's a lot of cooking styles that can actually cure it like that and then cooking in the salt. But we'll take it out, we'll rinse it off, and we'll get the smoker fired up, and I'll show you exactly step by step on how I go through all the processes start to finish. So I'm gonna wrap this up, I'm gonna pop it in the fridge, and we'll take it on to the next step. Alright, welcome to the next step in my homemade bacon process. I've had the bacon sitting in the cure since about 8 o'clock last night. It's about 11 o'clock now, so I don't know, you figure 12, about 14 hours been sitting there. It should be plenty long enough. If you notice in the pan right here, you'll see all this fluid in there. That's all the water and the moisture that the salts have been extracting and pulling out of the bacon. So I'm going to get on to the next step here with this. Alright, the next step of what I want to do is I want to take it directly from my pan here, move her over to my sink. Alright, next step I'm going to do here, I got a little bit of black pepper. Normally I like to use a little cracked pepper for it, but just some ground black pepper. I'm going to just go over the top of it, just on the fat layer. Give some good seasoning to it. And now we'll get it out on the smoker. Remember, before you put it on the smoker, you want to make sure the outside of the pork belly is completely dry. You don't want moisture on it. That's just going to slow the process up a little bit. So go through with a towel, like before I did the pepper here, I did it, but go through paper towel and just dab it off just to dry out the surface. Now it's all ready to go on the smoker. Alright, welcome to my smoker. What I'm going to do is take each one of these slabs of bacon here. I'm going to put her up on one of the taller racks I don't necessarily want it too close to the heat. I don't want it too hot. That's what I'll drop down a little bit of this. Throw that one on there. So I got my 2 slabs of bacon on the rack, all stocked up with some Applewood here. I almost exclusively use Applewood on all my smokers. I got that fired up. Slap in my smoker pan. Slap in that pan of water just to give it a little bit of fire and heat break so it's not getting too hot directly up towards it. Keeps it a more indirect heat. Close this up. And I'm gonna keep it about, try and keep it at about 175 degrees for the next, say, 6 hours or so. And show you what it looks like when it's all done. This is, in my opinion, one of the best bacons in the world. And you know everything that goes into it. Okay, I'm about halfway through the smoking process here. Crack her up for the first time. It's actually been on for about 2.5 hours so far. And we see it's just starting to get nice and golden brown. Okay, so it's 4 o'clock now. It's started about 11. So that's about 5 hours in the smoker. I just took a peek at it, a little peek, and it looks about done. So what I'm gonna do here is pop it out of the smoker. It's good to go. Here, I'll show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, I've been keeping it right around 200 degrees. Open her up, and it's got this nice browning color to it. The inside, I took a little bit of a cut to it. It's all cooked all the way through. And what you want to do is wait until you got an internal temperature of the bacon of 165 degrees. That's all you really need. When you hit that 165 degree mark, it's good to go. You can take it out and turn it off. This one's just at 172. I just checked and it's all good. So I'm gonna pull it right off and it's good to go. Hope you enjoyed it. Give this recipe a try and let me know what you think.